Okay, so you're welcome to another episode of the Bible podcast. Today we have a surprise for you. I think in all the, I would say years that we've been doing this podcast, today we have a first. Um, I think that I would want to chichenho a little bit before I say what that first is. But we are blessed today to have in our midst for this podcast a bishop. A round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this afternoon we are blessed to have the Bishop of Koforidua Diocese with us, Most Reverend Joseph Afrifa-Agyekum. Bishop, you're most welcome to the Bible podcast.
Thank you for
So
having me.
we have a special greeting.
Yeah.
I was really was the honors.
Yes, I will. Okay, so Bishop, open your fist, please. I give you this.
Uh-huh.
And also close the
Susubo,
fist.
susubo.
And after that,
And then we shake.
Oh, okay. That's lovely.
so let's go again. Beautiful. Beautiful. And then you want to get the chance to greet a bishop this way, unless on the Bible podcast.
Right, sure.
Thank you.
Today we are having an important discussion. The church has had a lot of people attack it for various means. People have said all sorts of things about Christianity in general. Some say that it's the opium of the masses. Others will say that it is a money-making machine. A picture is created in Christendom as if the church is only interested to take money from its members and prey on its members. That's why today we are having this podcast to show a different perspective that probably you didn't know, to show a side of the church that I'm sure you may have had an idea, but you didn't know the exact or the extent to which it goes. So this afternoon or this evening, we are having a discussion on the contribution of the Catholic Church to Ghana's national development. And like I mentioned earlier, we are blessed to have the Bishop of Koforidua with us. Bishop, please, how long have you been a bishop?
18 years.
18 years, exactly. So for 18 years, he has been part of the Catholic Bishops Conference, and as we know, they are our leaders as far as the church in Ghana is concerned. So, Bishop, once again, you are welcome.
Thank you.
So, in my introduction, I mentioned that in the field of the country's national development, we know two key things are education and health.
Yeah.
We will take it maybe one after the other. In terms of education, how many schools do we have, Bishop, if I may ask?
Thank you for this question. And to be specific, I need to make a reference to the document that I have, else I could make a big mistake.
Yes.
So I got this statistics, which I received from the general manager of Catholic schools in Accra.
Okay.
And this is the statistics from the year 2024. In all, we have, this is for the basic level.
Okay.
If you look at it, we have, for example, number of kindergartens, total 2,014 across the country.
Wow.
And then the number of primary schools, 2,162. And the JHS, we have 1,436.
Wow.
So total number of schools, 5,453. That is the basic schools.
Basic school, 5,453.
Yes. And then when you come to the second cycle and tertiary, these are the statistics that I received. Senior high schools, we have a total of 82 across the country. Technical vocation, we have 41. And special schools, we have four. And then College of Education, that is formerly the training colleges, we have 13 out of the 46 or so that we have nationally. And then other tertiary institutions, we have 10. So nursing training, and then the Catholic University, and so on. So total of 152
Wow.
second cycle and tertiary institutions across the country.
152.
Yeah, 150. That's the statistics that I have.
Wow. Elvis, what are your thoughts on the numbers? The numbers, I knew it was high, but I didn't know it was this high.
Exactly. I'm surprised because 5,000 for basics.
Yes.
Meaning, okay, I think we will do the statistics because averagely we have to find the average and where they are positioned and all that. Meaning, in Ghana here, Catholic Church sort of supersedes all the other churches in terms of education. The numbers.
Oh, I'm sure by far.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because I'm not sure any other church could produce this number.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is a very bad position.
So Bishop, with the basic schools,
Yes.
and even I think with the second cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But let me start with the basic schools. What I know is that some of them are also government schools. So in those scenarios, what is the contribution of the church, or is the church directly responsible for the management of those schools, or it's like we have outsourced the goods, that's the government?
Well, the situation or the system that is being worked out in the country is that all the basic schools, even though we call them mission schools, they are actually under the Ghana Education Service. And we have local managers, that is the priests, who are in the places where the schools are situated, and their position till now is not even, so much recognized, unfortunately. And then we have the regional managers, like my diocese have a regional manager, other dioceses also have the regional managers. They are supposed to be the ones who, as it were, collate and take care and handle all issues about schools from basic up to, secondary and even tertiary, nursing training and so forth. And with this, the government pays school fees and appoints teachers, headmasters, and so forth. But it's only that is with the basic school. So the government handles almost everything. It is an area that we are still talking. We hope that governments would eventually listen to us, because by extension to the second cycle, we have certain challenges with the governments past, especially the past governments. Now that we have a new government, so we are waiting to see what could happen. But certainly there are challenges with, who actually owns the school and who is in charge of the schools. Mm-mm.
But then I think that all those schools are situated on our lands.
They are, yes, they are. And the lands belong to us. They are deeded in the name of the Catholic Church.
So yes. I think that is one. I don't want to call it a problem, but that's one issue that I have, because when I look at the Accra Archdiocese, if I look at the number of government schools that are on our lands, if they were private schools, I don't think the church would need money for anything. Yes, because they would have generated income to support the church's work. Yeah. So we have given our lands to the government to build these schools for the benefits of the whole community, and then we have no money for.
Yeah, that's right. But let me come to the discipline aspect. I didn't attend the Catholic school, but my younger brothers attended. One attended was and St. Hubert. Mm-hmm. So I'm quite conversant with the discipline aspect. So the government having a portion of, let's say, a control of our schools, or let's say yes, our institutions, does it have an effect? Are the discipline aspect still the same? Because we know for Catholic institutions, you go there and you come back transformed.
You see, how I would like to approach this topic is how eventually the churches, and not only the Catholic Church, as it were, gave in and to the governments in the past to, as it were, take over the schools that we had set up, that is including the other religious bodies. And that is where there should have been a real document, an agreement to spell out the roles of, the government and also the missions that were handing over these schools that they had set up. And as a result of that omission, now the missions seem not to be recognized when it comes to, school, institutional issues. And the past couple of years, in fact, I would say government after government, till the last government till now, we have been struggling, to try to get a memorandum of understanding signed by the governments. We have not been successful. And what is the essence of this whole on import? All that we are asking for is that we would be part and parcel of the management and supervision of the schools. And that will bring me to your point of discipline. As a result of this not being done, we seem not to, as it were, have hold on to the disciplinary issues that come up in our schools. And we should not also forget, when it comes to, admissions into our schools, formerly when it was not so, the headmasters and the headmistresses will do the collation and you write the BEC and then they will meet somewhere and select the students. Even in some cases, there will be the, call it this way, entrance exam. And by that, the heads are able to, as it were, inform and gather, bring information to the applicants or the students. This is what happens in the school. This is what happens in the school. So when you are entering, you know what you are going into. But you see, when we turned over, especially the senior high school, to this computer school placement system, the system is bringing all kinds of people there. And I have no fears to say that there are a lot of people who influence these admissions, And by the time you realize students have been put into our schools that you do not even know their background and have not been sorted out and things like that. And these are some of the things that are very, very important. I'm not saying that mission school will not admit anybody. No, but before you come in, this is our ethos. This is why St. So and so schools, St. So and so schools, these are the things that you have to expect. A few issues have come up and GES will refer you to, go onto our website, the manual of the Ghana Education Service, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, And so when you go there, what is it? Basically, you can't even touch a student. And so a student is misbehaving, you cannot handle it the way that maybe the missions would have. And I'm not talking about caning anybody, no punishment, but we have a way to talk to them, And some of these students have been brought there. Their backgrounds are not even, explained to the administration. And so by the time you realize they fall into all kinds of groups and they cause a lot of mess. So we definitely have a challenge when it comes to discipline. I'm sure you have heard about, so we are all witnesses to some of the things that have been happening. And definitely we need a real conversation, and hopefully that this new government would be able to sign this memorandum of understanding, which has been lying there for so many years.
I think that's what I was going to say, that it's a prayer that this new government would indeed sign this document. Because I think that just before the election, the Bishops' Conference were able to meet him, and I think it was top on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, Bishop, I foresee the situation being a little bit better in the second cycle institution in terms of the control the church has on the school. Is that the case? Because I think that for the basic school, maybe because they are also a lot, it makes their control, the church's control. But I think that for the secondary schools, you see some secondary schools that are, headed by sisters, that are headed by Reverend Fathers. Is the situation a little bit better in the second cycle?
Okay, taking it from the basic level, normally what is supposed to happen is that the church is consulted, and then a Catholic, or a Methodist or Anglican, if he or she qualifies, is recommended and, appointed as the head. Unfortunately, in some districts, some district directors or metro directors and so forth, seem not to respect that protocol. And so occasionally you have challenges and confrontations, and we appoint, because they have appointed somebody who is not a faith-based person. That is for the basic. As for the senior high school and technical and vocational school, that one, for a headmaster or a principal, the opportunity is always given to the bishop to propose somebody who qualifies. And that one, it is still respected across the country. Because definitely, as for the senior high schools, we cannot just sit quiet and say that you bring anybody. If he or she has to be a Catholic. And so that is what is happening.
I think that is quite interesting to note, especially for the naysayers about the church, that no matter the ranking that you are using, if you should rank the top 20 second cycle institutions in the country, half of them will be Catholic schools. Half. Definitely, no matter the ranking that you are using, you will find half of them being, if not even more. Some rankings will have more, if not even like 70%. But I think that no matter how biased you are, no matter how much you want to scrutinize the church, you will definitely find minimum half being Catholic schools. I mean, if you look at all the regions, it's the Catholic schools. Let's look at Koforidua diocese. If you mention all the top schools, I think
have 10 senior high schools.
10 senior high schools.
St. Peter's, St. Rose's, St. Thomas, St. Dominic. We have Pope John's. We have St. Paul Technical, Kuprantumi.
Yes.
All these St. Martin's. These are all schools in the Eastern.
Top schools in there. So it goes to show that the church is not just interested in faith issues alone, that we are looking at the holistic development of the person, both your faith, both your education, which we know goes a long way to building the person's capacity, and then to the next subject that you're going to talk about, health. Bishop,
yes.
As far as health is concerned, what are the numbers there as well?
Okay. Let me refer to the document over here.
Okay.
If you don't mind. This is the last conference that we held in Ho.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Volta region. So according to this document, the total number of health institutions that we have, in fact, now the name is the Catholic Health Service Trust.
Okay.
So the Catholic Health Service Trust institutions. So hospitals and clinics, number 147 across the country.
147.
That is across the country, all the regions and in the country. And then besides this, we have the training institutions. This is the number. We have 11 of them also scattered around the country. These training institutions mean, nursing training colleges, orthopedic training centers, and so forth.
11 of them.
Yes, 11 of them, midwifery and so forth. And then specialized institutions, these orthopedics, prosthetists and orthotists. And then, for example, orthopedic institution in Adoajiri in Sawam. Yes. And then we have the rehabilitation centers, Mercy Rehabilitation Center in Cape Coast, and Ashaman and so forth. They have, this for alcoholics, to rehabilitate them. So these number 5, actually, those are not too many.
Oh, the rehabs.
Yes, the rehabs.
But that's still a lot. 5.
Because it's quite intensive and it takes a lot of time to handle these those who have cases, like this. So, the Catholic Church is, as a body, comes second after government when it comes to health delivery in this country.
I think it's even the same for education.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. And we belong to the Christian Health Association of Ghana,
Yes.
which is known as JAG. Yeah.
So Bishop, let's come to your diocese. It looks like for you have a number of big hospitals
I do.
in quotes, because from the top of my head, I know St. Dominic in Akwetia. I know of the one in the Ejuri you just mentioned.
The one in St. Martin de Porres in Agomanya.
In
Then we have Holy Family in Koko.
Yes.
And then St. Joseph Orthopedic Hospital here in Efidiasi, Koforidua.
Right. I think St. Joseph is also very popular for bone.
Trauma is a trauma center. Orthopedics, yeah.
Okay.
Bone and surgeries and so forth. But of course, they have also branched into other areas, maternity and other clinical medicine.
Yes. So how is the picture there as well in terms of government's contribution or involvement in these hospitals, all these hospitals that we have?
I would say that it is far, far better as compared to education. Yeah. There we have much control. Okay. And then working from the Christian Health Association, the Catholic Health Service Trust, and down to the dioceses. Every diocese is supposed to have a diocesan Catholic Health Service Trust, which has an executive director. And all these, the appointments are, the government also releases nurses and doctors, gives them to, that's the Ministry of Health or Ghana Health Service, gives them to the Christian Health Association of Ghana, and the Christian Health Association of Ghana, that is CHAG, distributes them to the Presbyterian, Anglican, other, Christian associations that have health services in the Catholic. And then from there, they are also posted to the dioceses.
Okay.
So that one, before they come, all this information is sent to the dioceses, and then we work on the transfer of them onto the payroll of the individual institutions. Right. So if a doctor is posted, for example, to Nkoko, his BMC is at Nkoko, and that's where he will draw his A. And letters about their promotion and transfers and this and go through the Dawson Health Service. And I'm always informed about this. Okay. If somebody wants to go for, training, specialization, fellowship, and member, and so forth, all these other areas, they go through the system. And of course, we work together with the Ghana Health Service, and things are quite smooth. I would say far better than the education system.
But I think that in terms of the numbers alone, I am greatly encouraged. I think I'm proud to be a Catholic. Let me say it like that, because we are really contributing to the development of the country. We are not just interested in taking people's collections and then, I always say this when I have the opportunity to raise funds in churches, that no matter how much money we raise, Father will never buy a Range Rover. It can never happen.
No, do not be allowed.
Yes. Yeah. So, Bishop, I wanted to also find out about the cost of the medical services that we provide. Are we in control of setting these fees, or we rely on the government to standardize cost? And the reason why I'm asking this question is that if I should pick maybe another hospital in terms of the fees, do we have more moderate fees as compared to what is out there?
Okay. Certainly the Ghana Health Service or the Ministry of Health, has certain regulations. And then vis-a-vis the National Health Insurance Trust. So they also control, the medical or the medicines and their pricing, which sometimes I have no qualms in saying these things that are not realistic. If paracetamol, one is supposed to be sold at maybe 5 pesos, and it gets to the institution is supposed to be also given at 5 pesos, it becomes a bit difficult, so you don't make, they are not for profit per se, but, you still should be able to run. So sometimes these are the challenges. And then also the medicines are categorized. those for high antibiotics and special medications and so forth. So all these things, they are also a bit controlled by the National Health Service. So occasionally you get them also visiting our institutions to check whether they are, as it were, conforming to A. So you get some hospitals who will set up a dedicated pharmacy for those ones if they are not on the National Health Insurance list. So if you are a patient and there is a prescription by a specialist that, let's say, paracetamol is, I'm using this as an example, and it's not on the National Health Insurance list, then you can go there and buy. And that does not become a problem. But it does not mean that they push the National Health Insurance medicine onto the specialized just to be able to make a. So this is basically that which is happening in our institutions. It's a bit challenging in some cases when you talk to some of our administrators, but generally they are able to make it. I was once in charge of the bishop in charge of health. I was for 7 years. And so somehow I have an idea, some of the challenges that they have. We traveled around the country, and I can mention all the places that we visited just to be with them where they work, listen to their challenges, and if there is time, I can even share some of these things with you.
Oh, we have time. We have time. So.
Okay. Yes, as I said, I was in charge of health for the Bishops' Conference for about 7 years. Besides engagement that is locally, there was also this annual conference that we had in Rome, that is our headquarters, whereby every year they had an international Catholic health conferences. Okay. And we attended. I often attended with the director of the Catholic Health Service, now Catholic Health Service Trust. When you come locally, we are the one. I'm not a specialist in health. And so I had to work with the director and the directorate. So the staff over there, they give me guidance. We have meetings, and then we discuss together with CHAG and so forth. And besides that one, every year, we had also the annual conference of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, CHAG. And that means the presbys, Methodists, and Anglicans, all who belong. We have this conference, and then we are able to talk about our finances and performance throughout the year. Besides this, the institutions are expected also, wherever you find yourself, like in the Eastern region, they are supposed to also give a report to the region, that is the Regional Directorate of Health. In fact, it starts from the district and then to maybe the metropolitan and then to the region. And in most cases, or in some cases, the region depends even more on our statistics and information, as it build up their final statistics information. Of course, in some cases, we are the ones there. Maybe we have about 4 or 5 hospitals, and the government has maybe only 2 or 3. So the bulk of the information will come from us. And we cooperate very well with them. And I would say that the district and the Ghana Health Service, they also cooperate. There was a time that we were complaining that, certain equipment were also not given. They came for this country, but in the distribution, in some cases, they left us out. That is the child institution. So we had to talk and speak and make our appeals. And eventually, the situation, I would say that has improved. During my time, I asked the director that, yes, it will be good that we don't just sit in Accra. Of course, I don't live in Accra, but we should let the office move and chase the people. Let us know where our staff work, to see their places of work, their conditions. And I was very happy. I'm very happy to inform you that that really paid off. So I can even remember we made a trip to Tamale. From Tamale, we took our vehicles, went to West Gonja, that is Damongo. We have a hospital there. And to be honest with you, when they showed us around and we saw the theater, Oh my goodness. You ask yourself, is that where they are taking care of people, surgical things and so forth? So some of these things, come to the fore, and we are able to make reports and then speak also to the district and the Ghana Health Service. And then, of course, for ourselves also, wherever we can also get funds, seek these funds and then try to upgrade those places. So from there, we drove all the way to Wa. It was a long distance, and we spent the night there. And the next day, where all the institutions were supposed to, that is from Wild House, were supposed to come for a meeting. Some delayed. And of course, my director, the staff that I went with, they were quite excited. I said, this is what I am telling you. So some of them who came late, they came to tell us their stories.
Yeah.
Some could only drive with a motorbike, Okada or these tricycles and so forth. Some got stuck in a bad road. And so we had to wait for all this. Yeah. So it was an eye-opener for us. And then after that meeting, we went to Kalio. We visited the Kalio hospital, clinic, and then we continued to Jirapa. Jirapa has 3 institutions on the same compound. Wow. The traditional birth attendance training school is there, and then the regular nursing and midwifery training, and the hospital. So we visited all of them and engaged with them in conversation. We listened to their challenges and so forth, and then went on to Nandom. And from there, we continued. In fact, it was a very, very risky trip that we had. We drove in the night from Nandom all the way to Viaga.
Wow.
And when we got to the customs, the now GRA point, they asked us, why are you traveling in the night? This place is very, very dangerous, and armed robbers are all over because the network doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
But the driver, Jonathan, I remember him very well. He knew the road. He was driving like, and he had 2 vehicles. Okay. Yes. So, but we continued. God being so good, we got to Yaga, and we spent the night, and then the next day we went to Bolgatanga, and went to some other place, Zoko, visited their clinics and listened to them. In fact, there was one nurse who got an international award, a midwife from Zoko. And what was it? It was about taking care of women who have just delivered freshly. And as a result of what she did, a lot of women always wanted to. And what was it? He said after delivery, as a woman, she also knew how they felt.
Yeah.
And all that they needed was hot cocoa. Hot cocoa. And that was what she was giving to them. Hot cocoa for she got the award at the United Nations. Wow. So we really also celebrated her. And so from there, we came back to Tamale. But I can also tell that we came from Tamale, we flew to Accra. We have visited Obuasi houses. We visited also Western region, that is Takrady, secondly Takrady houses. And then we went all the way to Yametra. We went all the way, Sefi Asafo, then Takrady Holy Child Clinic and so forth. Obuasi houses. There was Agro Yesum, yes. And one area that struck me, was Isasi Bontefufu. Bontefufu.
Bishop, where is that?
Oh, you are lost there.
I'm lost.
It's in Ashanti region.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes. And the clinic is on top of a hill opposite the senior high school. And the town is way down in the valley. And so the nurses live in town. It's only the one in charge, the nurse in charge, who lives on the compound. Okay. I think he has a bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and a hall. And they were telling us about their challenges. Because they live in town, especially the nurses who have to come for night. They have these young boys who have been chasing them, sometimes taking their mobile phones and so forth. And as a result of that, whenever they closed from work in the evening, some of them could not go back. And so they were forced to stay with the in charge until the next morning.
Wow.
You know, they didn't have generators. So all these things, you know, when it comes to your attention, you're able to appreciate what our staff is going through. Even we had to, you know, eventually we had to buy them even a motorbike because the motorbike got spoiled, it had been sitting there, and then a generator, we had to, you know, buy it. And then we were in another hospital. In fact, I've forgotten the name of the town. When we got there, we had 2 vehicles and there was an emergency. So what do we do? So I arranged that, okay, let us squeeze ourselves in one of the vehicles, and that vehicle should take the patient to Obuasi. And so we squeezed ourselves into the Land Cruiser, and the patient was taken to Obuasi, you know, and then we finished our rounds and went to back to Obuasi, and then we got the driver into a. So, I mean, we were also in Jasikan diocese, that is in Volta region. We went to Jasikan, we spent the night there, and then we went by boat, we go across to Chinderi. We have a clinic there. And the interesting thing is that our clinic is sited opposite a government hospital, a clinic. And you know, the challenges were that we don't do, you know, sorry to say abortion, but the opposite, they do abortion. So we're going for So that is what, and then we went from there. We spent almost a whole day there, and then came by the same pontoon, crossed over, and went to Nkwanta, St. Joseph Hospital. It's a big hospital. I think they're over 60 years old. But that was a place I got a bit excited. I would say even annoyed. Why? Because this hospital has been there for years and serving the people. Even people from Togo are here, you know, come over there. And an MP at that time took Ghana money and went to build another hospital almost opposite St. Joseph Hospital in Kwanta. For what? I criticized this a few times on my addresses to, you know, when we had a conference, where instead of putting that money to support and upgrade the place or even build some smaller clinics in other places, he went and put up this thing. I mean, and many people are used to our hospital, say they were going there more than the government. It was waste of resources. There was no need for that. So, I mean, we spoke about it, and some other places that involve Jasikan houses that we visited. So I still have memories of some of these things. The church has done so well, and we continue to build on. You know, we are almost everywhere. You know, so this partnership, if I will call it, between the government and the church, not only the Catholic Church, but church as a church institution, we should really enhance it and then encourage the governments to help us so that we can reach out to many, many more people. Now, maybe to the funds and challenges that sometimes we have, it is interesting, you know, maybe to note that even in our hospital, in spite of all that people say, we do charity. There are some people who come, they can't pay, and so we use the social welfare, follow them up, and if it is really a matter of family not being able to pay, we find a way to, as it were, absorb such costs. You know, so I'm not saying that people should go there and just pretend, no, but this is a possibility.
Sure. So that was going to be, it's like you took the wind from my side. That was going to be what I was going to say, because I visited St. Dominic, and in conversations with the administrator, he told us about this initiative that the hospital has, that if somebody is not able to pay the bills, they would go to the person's home, trace the person, try and come to an agreement with the family, a payment plan that they can commit to, so that they can discharge their the award back to them to continue the recuperation. Because sometimes I think people being held in quote captive because they can't pay their medical bills. It happens a lot in the government hospitals where they don't allow you to go because they know that if you go, that's it. So something like this, the church, if the church is something like this, I think it's very, very commendable. I think we're talking about education and health, but through Bishop's submission, he has let us see that it's not easy to be a bishop. A lot of time, people just look at the flamboyance. Maybe when you visit us in our parishes, they look at the honor that's accorded you, and don't see all the hard work behind the office.
Yeah. They are not armchair bishops. They move on. And I think that is very.
I'll tell you one interesting experiment, which was terrible. In our rounds, when we went to the Western region, we went to Asenkregua, I think it's Bishop Rooney Memorial Hospital. And, there being, in the rural area, they prepared something for us, lunch, fufu, and then ampesi. And some of us said, once we are in we like to take contomere. Yeah. And those who wanted to take fufu also took fufu. And we finished the meal. After everything, we had a meal. Then we went to to spend the night at the bishop's house, the whole team. The bishop was so generous to give us accommodation. That night, diarrhea, running stomach. It was terrible.
All of you.
No, on those of us who ate the contomere. Apparently, I think, they had sprayed it, the farmers had sprayed it, and maybe those who prepared it didn't maybe clean it up well and so forth. And there was one Dr. Anita, she was the one carrying our first aid day. She was the one, she was seriously, wow. So after morning mass, breakfast, we said, okay, we'll try. We went to Asafo, and then on the way going to Yamitra, we had to stop in one hospital, a modern hospital. I've forgotten the name of the town. She was almost detained. Wow. Because her case was and the rest of us, it was not easy, but so this was one of the, some of the issues that as a bishop, traveling with them. So, but of course, the whole environment as we traveled, the effect of Galamsey was so clear. The holes and distraction, the whole environment,
Especially in monsoon.
Exactly. Terrible. It's one of the things that, fine, as part of our visit, we had to handle some of these and then discuss these things. How do we go about it? Because they're there, people were drinking bad water, and so forth. They come to the hospital. So the public health service, the nurses, also had a big work to do. So these are some of the things that
it's not easy, but I think we believe with the help of God, we shall prevail.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, with God we shall, but it beholds on us to also change.
Very
change.
Very important.
Actions, attitude. God will try. God will do it, but it begins with us. It begins with us. And you see, I've been thinking about this. The church is wise and very intentional in doing certain things, especially the church allows certain priests to go for medical schools and all that. And I know we have most of them in our hospitals. So we can find out how, impactful it is. Does it go a long way to reduce let's say the payment we issue out to doctors and all that, or is basically the same?
Our numbers as far as clergy and religious in healthcare is really minimal as compared to the percentage is not big at all. So we have more, if I'm not exaggerating, maybe I can say that maybe we are not even 2-3%, who are in healthcare as religious, that is nuns and also priests or brothers. Maximum maybe about 3%. So the impact is not so big. even though we are there, and you find sisters almost in, and then priests almost in all the hospitals and health centers. At least, even if it is not, you have a chaplain. Yeah. As for the chaplains who work in every clinic, in every maternity and hospital, there's always a chaplain. But in direct administration, in some places, there are very few. And now, of course, it's just also a question of qualification. You can't just put anybody there because he's a priest or he's a religious. He must qualify for that position. And we insist on that, especially with the Catholic Health Service Trust that we are operating now.
So, Bishop, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that your diocese supported a priest go and study health administration to come and man one of your facilities. I think St. Dominic.
In fact,
is that the case?
Yes, you are right. But in fact, I sent two to go and study health administration. And so one is in Akwetia, St. Dominic Hospital, and one is in Holy Family in Koko.
Okay. Yeah. So what has been the impact of that move on the management of these hospitals for the church?
I would say that it has saved me a lot. I'm telling you because I have the experience, as compared to what was existing before. Of course, in Akwetia, it was the Dominican sisters who were there, Germans.
Yeah.
I mean, they also had their share of stealing and corruption and so forth, but somehow they could get money from home and then maybe patch up things and so forth. And the same thing in Nkoko. And since I got these priests to be at the helm of affairs, the amount of savings that we have done. If you go to Akwetia, for example, all that is happening there, we have a CT scan, we have MRI, the only one in Eastern region, and I'm proud to say that,
The only one in Eastern
region.
Wow.
And they have a medical college. The new administration block that they put up, 3-story, all from internal generated funds. And if it had not been for my priests who really, together with the senior staff, the management who are cooperating with him, all this money is a good amount of it. Because I know where they were before Father came in. If you go to Nkoko, the same thing with the Father Derek as the administrator. They have collapsed one old ward, medical ward, taken it off and built a story building.
Wow.
All from internally generated funds. There is another ward which is pending, destruction, and then eventually they hope to build. And all these the institutions are functioning well. So there was a lot of leakages. But they may not have done it 100%, but at least I can boast that they've gone more than 95%. And the hospitals are the beneficiaries. So also the staff and the clients who
the
come.
Community at large.
Exactly.
Yes. So I think that it's good that the church or your office took this initiative to do this. Father, now we've spoken about health, we've spoken about education. I know that the Catholic Church is the biggest humanitarian organization in the whole world. When we come locally to Ghana, what is the picture like in terms of humanitarian agencies? I know of Caritas Ghana, and Elvis, you remember during COVID when the government, contacted Caritas Ghana to help in the distribution of yes, I know Caritas Ghana does a lot for the country in terms of the work that they do. What is the picture in those areas as well?
The charity aspect of the church is very, very strong. And it is encouraged from all the way from our headquarters, that is Rome, to the least village that we can think of. And just as you have mentioned, Caritas is one of the biggest NGO, if I may call it this way, of the church, and which tries to handle situations of, disasters and poverty and so on across the globe. And the Caritas exists in all our churches that is across the globe. So every diocese has it. Some may not even use the name Caritas, but then they have, other names, Social Economic Development Department of the diocese.
Okay.
But they do more or less the same work. Yeah. So the whole import of this is to be able to look at situations that are challenging, disasters that may occur, and poverty situations, poverty alleviation, and so forth, that they can come in to help. And we solicit funds from, benevolent people and so forth, who want to give to the cause of the church. And these monies are, as it were, distributed accordingly, according to the needs of the people. Besides that, we have also the Catholic Relief Service, that CRS. Also, yes, CRS. The headquarters is in Washington in the US, but then they have an office here in Ghana. And they also do a lot, as far as, humanitarian services are concerned. And the Catholic Relief Service, is working more in the north, but of course, within the southern, down the country. But they've contributed so much, to humanitarian issues, and for which the church is always very, very happy. It is an institution that does not work only with the Catholic Church. It works with so many people, and we don't discriminate, as you may know. And the past few years, if I can remember, about 4 or 5 years now, we've been into Catholic Relief Service has been sponsoring this Sahel Peace Initiative program. What does it mean? This Sahel Peace Initiative is all about terrorists and fundamentalists who are trying to, as it were, expand their territories across the West African region. And so I have attended 2 of such seminars in Senegal and then also in Burkina Faso. But then when they show you the statistics and information, it is quite threatening. It is quite, it's a danger. And so we're trying to educate people to come to know that this problem exists.
Yeah.
And so how do we, as it were, counter this? And so we engage governments, and we engage dioceses, and we engage civil society. One of the pictures that they showed us when we went for the first was about Burkina Faso. Looking at the statistics that they had for us, 2005, coming down 2010, 15, up to now, you could see the dotted places. You could just, it was like white. They used red color for and then getting to the last few years, about 4, 5, 6 years ago, they had the whole, about 2/3 of the country was red.
Wow.
So which meant that the terrorists or they have expanded. When you translate that into the Catholic Church's existence, one diocese, I think if I remember the name very well, Dori diocese, they were left with 3 parishes. And the bishop was considering closing down even a 3rd parish, so that it will come up to 2. So he had written to the nuncio for advice. So this tells you how far the terrorists had expanded their territories. And it is not only there. I mean, we are all aware of Boko Haram existence in Nigeria and Niger and all those places. So it is a worrying situation. And so Catholic Relief Service also has funded, workshops and training sessions and campaigns to try to see how we can, as it were, push this thing a bit away from it. Of course, we don't have weapons. We are not going with weapons, but there's education, So that is it. And if you put this aside, you come to the dioceses and the parishes, charity is one of the things that we encourage. Take care of people who are poor. Sometimes we are paying health bills and students' bills, those who cannot afford and so forth. They will come to us, and the little that we can do, the church, does not turn its back to such people. Mm-hmm.
So, viewers, I hope that from our little conversation, we can tell that there's a lot that the church is doing outside preaching. Even though preaching is also very important, there's a lot that the church is doing to contribute to the growth and development of the country and also its people. We are wrapping up, but in wrapping up, Bishop, a bird whispered to me that the Catholic Church is also one of the institutions that normally help when there are disputes in the presidential elections. I think that on one of these political programs, they were mentioning the people that they normally call when there's a problem. They mentioned Asante Hene, they mentioned U.S. Ambassador. Then they came to the Catholic Church. Bishop, I know you have a lot, so give us more. Give us more, the little that you can.
Yes, well, elections are done by human beings, and it's human beings who have to participate in them. And of course, the big assignment is given to the Electoral Commission. Mm-hmm. And I must say that I doff my hat for this present Electoral Commission, the whole team. Mm. They've done well, especially the last election. Yeah. I really congratulate them. Mm. Mrs. Jane Mensah and your team, congratulations. God bless you. You did your best. Because I went to vote, I did not spend even 5 minutes. Mm. And so my question is, if everybody would just relax and do that which had been put in place, there wouldn't be all these troubles.
Yes.
I don't see, but you see, as you say, human beings, we are different. Mm. You went there with your own intention. You went there with your own intention. Yeah. Political party supporters, some of them go there with their own agenda. And so that's where we have these pockets of unfortunate incidents. And some are quite bizarre. I hope and pray that this thing will not happen there. I have talked about it in church. I have spoken to the young people. I say, what do you gain in destroying, in burning offices of electoral commission, schools, and so forth? And if I were President Mahama, we are the same person. We're going to ask him to build our roads, to put electricity, to do this. I will use the money first to fix all these things that you have destroyed before you come and tell me, hey. But unfortunately, the politics that is, you said you came, you are going to do this, you have not done it, and so forth. Unfortunately, I pity, President Mahama and his team. But we pray that they will be able to. But, people, you have a right to demonstrate. But please don't destroy things. Yeah. We are poor. We don't have the money. You go and destroy, and then we have to look for money to fix them again. Yeah. So having said that one, and to your question, election, we have had elections in the past. As I said, I've been a bishop for about 18 years. Yeah. And I know what the church, the little contributions that we have been offering in the backyard. So a few years back, I was called, late in the night. One of the political parties, they needed Cardinal Texan's telephone number, because things were hot in the, what do they call that?
Strong room.
Strong room. Yeah. So I gave the number, and I had to call Cardinal to alert him that they will be calling him late in the night, And I know what the Cardinal did. He had to drive all the way from HIPCOs to come down, to help as it will resolve. There is a lot that when some of these unfortunate situations happen, they try to come, to us. We don't talk about these things. In fact, that's why I don't even want to talk so much. Yes. But the little I can say is that we play some roles when it comes to, things get a bit difficult. But we hope and pray that these things will really minimize so that election results will be accepted and that people should not, just create confusion because it is not necessary. Yeah. Whatever has happened, whatever is going on, people know what they have done and what they have not done. Yeah. They are the ones to be honest and tell us so that we stop all these things. And sometimes they are blaming the Peace Council. And so what is Peace Council? They don't have ammunitions. They don't have any, they can only talk peace. So please, let us stop it. But all said and done, I think we try to make our input whenever they fall on us to try to resolve issues.
Okay. So I think this goes out to the youth out there who are fond of pointing fingers at our bishops when some of these issues come up, thinking that they are quiet. Today we are learning that in the background, a lot of times things happen. There's diplomacy, and diplomacy dictates that it's not everything that is put out there in the public space. Sometimes in the background, the church is working to resolve some of these things. Elvis, any last words before we take?
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, especially with regards to the number of schools we have, and even when it comes to health, what we do nationwide, the humanitarian services we render also. I'm very impressed, and I'm so happy to be in the church. Father, I was born a Catholic. My mother moved out of the church. I grew up to know more in the church and remain in the church, and I'll still be in the church.
Beautiful. In this. So, Bishop, your final words for us before we go.
Well, I would say that I want to thank you, your crew, CSM, Catholic Social Media. For all the work that you are doing, a lot of sacrifice that you are putting in. This from your own resources. And I would like to encourage many more young Catholics also to, follow your social media space and then also use the social media for the good things that I think we all need. Sometimes, some of these social media spaces are unfortunately not the best. And let's use this to educate, inform, educate, and also, even if possible, entertain also people in the positive way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bishop. So, listeners, viewers, it's been a pleasure coming to you with our discussion today on the impact of the Catholic Church in national development. Please do well to follow us on social media, like this content, and share so that others can also hear about the good works that the Catholic Church is doing in Ghana. We are doing a lot, and we need to spread the word, not even to outsiders, internally, so that we Catholics would know what our church is doing, will know where some of our contributions go to, and will know the impact that we are also making in the country. On Twitter, formerly X, the other way around. On X, formerly Twitter, we are Catholics Vibes GH, and on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, we are at Catholics for Social Media. Like us, follow us, and expect more content from us. CSM Vibes.